Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast. Lehr with me, your host, Imperial Dane. Focusing this time of bulletins by requests, and apparently some people have been asking about it. I mean, overall, I'd say I don't have a lot of sort of general thoughts about it. I mean, overall, basically comes down to what works, what doesn't. And that largely generally comes down to sort of few rules, which essentially means, since all the bonuses are basically very, very small, except for a few cases, the question becomes, how quickly do they actually become something that matters? That is, how quickly can they accumulate, or is there some sort of just more, something that us matters together in a greater sense? And in that department of infantry, generally, their bulletins are usually some of the better ones, because generally, I mean, yes, it's only 3% accuracy, but again, if you imagine, firing 100 bullets, 3 more will hit, and then of course you also consider, that them firing 100 bullets is considered a bit more likely than, say, for example, a tank. And then, of course, there's the final thing. There's 6 man in the squad, for example, of conscripts, all of a sudden, 3% increased accuracy for each guy. Oh, wait a minute. All of a sudden, that's actually a slightly more larger bonus if you sort of think, I don't know, 18%. Again, I'm sure some statistician or something will point out, that's wrong, Dane. Of course, I probably am. But, I mean, still, there'll probably be a larger benefit out of it that way. So already there, I mean, accuracy bonus, for example, for your infantry, do tend to add a bit more, in my opinion. I mean, for Stravniki or for the guard rifle or whatever, I mean, generally, if it shoots bullets, has a lot of troops in it, again, getting them that bonus does make them a bit more interesting and a bit more powerful. I do believe they might, might also apply a bit to think to all the other weapons they might be carrying. So, for example, if they do have a light machine gun, say like the guards riflemen or the grenadiers, I mean, again, you get a bit more of a bonus. Stuff like Molotovs might also have an effect, throwing them farther can always be helpful. Mines going down a bit faster in those cases might also be nice, quickly get them down before your opponent spots you doing it. That can also have an advantage. Things like this, on the other hand, 3% less for a satchel charge. Yeah, that's not an awful lot. I mean, that's pretty much pointless. As for this one, well, I'm not entirely sure how much that does for you. It might just give you just the edge, of course, so there's something there. But overall, I mean, again, accuracy bonuses generally tend to be sort of what you're looking for. For the guardsmen, this slight increased armor penetration bonus might be something, maybe not. And of course, again, we can pop up here, stuff like this works out. Stuff like experience bonus is also quite nice, and again, that's also something that accumulates quite nicely, since again, since you do damage, oh wait, there's slightly more, and again, as you do a lot more damage, it will slightly keep on going upwards, and again, as also the opponent's infantry becomes more veteran again, you get a bit more out of that as well. So overall, I mean, I would say experience bonuses are some of the best ones that are in the game, as again, they generally help you get faster up the levels, and thus faster up to the really good bonuses, the veterancy bonuses. So if you have to ask me again, experience bonus bulletins, great. Again, also something like, accuracy for machine guns also works out quite nicely. I mean, no issues there. Stuff like armor penetration, maybe a bit, but overall it's not something that ought to be a priority, unless you really intend to get a lot of machine guns and have them also do a bit of light anti-vehicle work, but otherwise they're not going to do a fright for much. For mortars, again, half of these are not going to do much. I think even these ones are bugged. So, I mean, again, experience bonuses is what you want. For the anti-tank guns, well, none of it really matters overall, so there's no really point in this, against the bonuses are small, and overall there's no way of really getting an accumulative effect, really, unless you really spam a ton of them, and in that department, you already got a lot of anti-tank guns, so that small bonus is not going to do much there. Artillery, again, look towards this. The other things, maybe a bit. Considering there's less scatter on there, I mean, that might work, but again, I'd always say this is going to get you a lot more out of it. And of course, for light vehicles, there's a few units that get a bit more accuracy, which of course is great. For example, the half check, I imagine that also applies to the quad mount. I mean, that's going to do you a lot of good. So with this veterancy bonus, but again, stuff like, for example, increased penetration of T-70 is not going to help you. No, will a cost decrease, for example, on the quad A package of 3% of 120 munitions. I mean, that's maybe, well, 4 or 5 munitions. That's not going to quickly mount up to anything unless you really spam a lot of them. Even then, it's not going to, for example, do you a lot of good. So it's not really a bulletin that does a lot for you. And for example, again, 4% increased penetration on my Su-85. That's hardly going to matter in most cases. I mean, you know, something like, say, again, you know, increased experience of Gen 6, that's going to help. But beyond that, not an awful lot. Again, that's about it. Maybe some slightly faster recharge, but again, you know, just getting the experience, a quicker get to Veteran, which also has a decrease in recharge time, is going to be doubly more effective. Plus, you get all the other bonuses. And well, the list basically goes on. I mean, again, 4% increased penetration on my IS-2, which is something around 200. That's 8 more penetration. Unless, of course, I just go straight for this and get experience faster. I mean, this one, which of course then will quicker get to Veteran 2, for example, increased range and increased accuracy. So, I mean, overall, most of these things just don't matter so much. Again, when it comes to basically tanks, anything above that, I mean, vehicles, the only thing that really matters is the experience bonus, because again, the other things generally don't do much. Maybe a bit more ramming range, but all again, this is the good stuff. This is the stuff that might as well not matter. I mean, for the Germans, this one might do something interesting. I've never actually seen it in use, but you know, it might work. It might, you know, give you some impression. So it could be worth considering. And again, you know, you're better off getting more experience for your Panthers, Panzer IVs, your Stugs. Oh, this is slightly minor, still better than nothing. Or your Sturmpanzer. Same here, you know, get some more experience for Tigers or Elephants. This could be interesting. Again, it gets more of its range, so that might work. But again, you know, overall, again, for the Scout car, I mean, this is actually going to be alright, because again, it shoots a lot, and again, that means that bonus is also reasonably effective. Plus, of course, you get more of them, so that also has a nice little thing to it. And again, this sort of back to here to, for example, infantry, and again, you know, stuff like this, that works nicely. This, you might as well not bother. And again, this is going to be grand, 4% increased armor. I mean, the sniper, that's pretty much wasted. He has 1 armor, and 4% of that is 1.04 armor all of a sudden. That's a waste of a bulletin, which you, for example, could be using on this, or this, or this, or this. Or, you know, something for the Panzer IVs. If you like Panzer IVs, I mean, you really should consider getting this bulletin for it, for example. I mean, things like that is something you should be considering. And what units are you primarily using? Then you should consider getting bulletins for those. And again, if you just say, you know, I use this tank a lot, then get the bulletin for that. And I use this tank a lot, get the bulletin for that. Or, you know, I use a lot of kind of this, get those. I use a lot of Panzers, you know, consider some Panzer going to do bulletins. Again, also Telemines and Minefields, because 3% less munitions, again, that's practically nothing. And same with that, 4% less munitions for every Panzer valve, again, nothing. I mean, those are also things to keep in mind, and always a good right rule of thumb. But again, you know, overall, consider what you use a lot of, get the bulletins for that, get the ones that sort of really matter for you. For tanks, again, look for the experience. For infantry, accuracy, maybe experience of this, and again, otherwise, you know, that's it really. Ignore anything that sort of gives more penetration or faster build times or whatever, except for mines. So I think that rather sums up my thoughts here on the bulletins. Out of a lot of them, there's basically a small minority that actually worth is bothering for. So hopefully that's cleared up some people's mind on the subject matter. If it did, you know, feel free to subscribe, tell your friends, share it with everyone. You know, not, you know, I'm terribly sorry, but hopefully this will sate those who are curious about my thoughts on bulletins.